Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about the October Factions Season 1, Episode 1. It is called Presidio. So this is the pilot, this is the first episode of a new show on Netflix, so because of that we'll start spoiler free, and we'll give you a warning before we go into spoilers. This is based on a comic book, and it is about a secret organization of monster hunters. Particularly we focus on this couple, these parents who are in a normal family kind of life, but they also happen to hunt monsters and do secret missions when they get orders on the side. And the first episode is largely about them coming back to the father's hometown because his father passed away, and he was also a member of this organization. So they come back to his big house and they're dealing with the funeral and dealing with cleaning up the place and getting all of his old secret weapons out of Dodge and things like that. And that's kind of the gist of it. So yeah, Carter, just very quickly tell me about how shit you thought this was, because I've got a feeling I know where you're going with this.
This was a mess of so many things, and it felt like a CW show trying way too hard. Honestly, the fact that this is a Netflix show, clearly about monsters, and they talk about October being a bad thing, their busy month for them, and obviously it's not October, and the fact they shout this out on a Thursday when they've got probably something else tomorrow.
Not even just a Thursday. It's January.
Yeah, exactly. It's not October. That was my point. It's nowhere near.
It's funny you say CW. I actually would go even further on that. This felt like an afternoon kids TV show to me in terms of how it looked. Now, I'm not saying that it had the tone of, well, it kind of does. This is the weird thing. It feels like an afternoon kids TV show that I would expect to be on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, except for the fact that there's F-bombs and some, more adult things popping up here or there. But the acting quality and a lot of it, and it's not that all the actors are bad. I actually think the parents, who are the main characters, are actually easily the best two on the show.
I had a problem with the dad being knockoff Ted Danson.
I mean, that's not his fault if that's just what he is.
Yeah, I know. But I couldn't get out of my head.
He had a couple of delivery moments that I thought were fine. Same with the mom. And it's funny, actually, one of the worst pieces of acting on the show, there's some flashbacks to when they're kids. Now, the kid actors are terrible.
First of all, do you like yellow filters, folks?
But the main thing I was going to say is that, and this is the weird one, because I actually know this actor's good, is that the actor playing his dad, the grandfather, if you will, in the flashbacks, Stephen McHattie. I know he's actually a good actor, but the scenes in this that he's in the flashbacks are absolutely terrible. I mean, he's only got one in this episode, really. There's like a scene in the kitchen where he's like, berating his son for shacking up with a girl, and he's blah blah blah. And the acting here was really atrocious, and and because I know he's actually pretty good in other things I've seen him in, I can only imagine that this is down to the script and direction. Because
the only logical conclusion.
Because the scene looks quite bad as well. I mean, it's worth mentioning the scene just looks terrible. The flashbacks feel like just nothing but filters, as opposed to anything else. I actually had a real
problem with this. The signifier for the flashback was this yellow filter, which was ugly in its own right, but I'm like, fine, whatever. And then they used the same yellow filter later on in the present day in a scene completely unrelated to anything flashbacky. And that bugged the hell out of me.
Yeah. This was kind of cringeworthy for the most part. It's not actually the worst pilot we've seen from Netflix, but this definitely fell. And the sad part is that I knew it very quickly. Like there wasn't a lot of time in this before I knew this is a D tier Netflix show that is clearly cheaper than a lot of the bigger stuff they actually promote. Because this did not get much promotion. This, we just happened to see one tweet about this earlier this week, said, hey, this show's coming this week. And I remember talking about it in the news when it was brought up. I remember it being about a family and there being monster hunters moving into a town or whatever. And think, oh yeah, that could be fine. That could be fun, whatever. No reason why that can't be good. And there was just so much about it. It was definitely when it was showing the secret compartments in the house and all these weapons, and they were scanning their ID badges, and I was getting a kid's secret agent show vibe of I can imagine this being on
Spy Kids.
kind of Spy Kids, I guess, but looking more like a TV show, looking more like a
Did
cheap.
Spy Kids have a TV show?
I don't know.
I feel like it had a TV show.
I've never seen Spy Kids. I have no idea if it had a TV show.
Oh, well, I assumed you'd seen the movie.
Nah, I was already too old
Fair enough.
by the time Spy Kids was a thing. But, you know, it reminds me of, like, afternoon kids TV show stuff. Like, the stuff that would be on at, like, 4 p.m. Kind of thing.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think it was really frustratingly clunky with its themes and kind of mixed messaging, because you know, it's getting at, okay, is this town really racist? And probably is the answer. But there's a scene early on where you know, this guy refuses to give him gas for the car, and the kid comes out and she goes, "Racist much?" And then turns out he wasn't. There was an actual reason for this. So yeah, that felt really clunky, because I'm like, well, and then they do more of the race stuff later, which is fine. But it's like, well, pick one, you know, go with it. Don't just throw stuff around like that randomly. Kind of undermines the later stuff.
My main thing with this, though, is just the overall feel of it. The writing, like, standard is just, there's nothing really interesting going on. There's no, like, subtext to anything. It's very kind of what it is, but at the same time, it also doesn't really feel like it delivers on the promise of what it is. It feels, I can feel the budget seeping through, like, every single element of it. Like, there's a really awkward scene at the start just to kind of establish that we're dealing with a show with people who fight monsters, but it's so quick that I don't understand why it exists, because if anything, you'd actually benefit the pilot, because, you know, for a lot of the pilot after on, there's, like, slow build of, like, them talking about what they do in secret, because the kids don't know what their parents do, which I guess maybe is what it relates it more to Spy Kids than anything else. But they don't know what their parents do, and, you know, we see the hints of them, like, accessing secret things and talking to people over, you know, secret satellite comms and whatnot, and then eventually they sort of encounter something, you know, late in the episode that they have to fight. And okay, and I couldn't help but feel that, okay, well, this weird, like, very quick 30-second opening where it feels really abrupt, and they have this fight with, like, a CG thing, like, very quickly, actually kind of like you could have had a little bit of, like, suspense almost and building up to what they actually are throughout the episode, but instead you open with this thing because you wanted to have a moment where they, you know, kind of look badass, I guess.
Yeah, I think the point of the start is that it's really mundane for them, because they're chatting normally while this is going on, right? You know, they're taking this really calmly, and it's just like, yeah, whatever. I think that's supposed to be the point, and that's reinforced when there's, you know, stuff like, oh, they're the best agents they've got and stuff like that.
My problem with that, though, isn't necessarily the idea of it. It's more that the way the rest of the episode plays a bit, mainly just the actual pacing of that opening scene doesn't actually lend itself to what you're describing here, because I've seen this done in other things where you have the characters speaking about something. It's a very Tarantino thing to do, actually. You have characters, the opening of Pulp Fiction is two hitmen, you know, talking about McDonald's in other countries, and just, you know, it's all his small talk to make it feel like really casual, but they're in the middle of doing, like, a really dark, like, severe job. This, you know, so it's very much that thing. But one of the things that sort of makes it work is the slow build up. But there's not enough time to build anything up in this opening scene. You get, like, maybe 30 seconds of dialogue, and then a very quick, oh, it's a horror thing, oh, quick gunshot, and then title,
opening credit. Yeah,
and it's so abrupt that it feels like someone trying to emulate the idea that you're describing without really understanding how to make it work.
Oh, I agree. I wasn't saying that it was doing it well. I was saying I think that's what the intention was, but it definitely doesn't work.
And then for the rest of it, it feels like really brightly lit, which is what makes me think it looks like a kids' TV show. And then it's mostly just, you know, lots of people talking in various rooms of the mansion, and that's basically it. Or a car. There's stuff in a car, but that's about it. You know, there's very little actually going on for the rest of the episode, which is really weird, because, you know, you want to make a big impact with your first episode, and I guess that's kind of also the same kind of logic behind them wanting to have that quick scene at the start where there's, like, a CGI monster.
Especially given Netflix's new metrics that they judge on, like they spoke about just this week, because I think we'd heard about it before, but they officially kind of said it this week that they count something as watched. If you watch just 2 minutes of the first episode, that counts towards their metrics as someone watched this.
Meaning their metrics are meaningless.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, they're still useful against its own stuff, I suppose, because you can compare one Netflix thing to another and they're judging it on the same thing, but it's useless to compare against anything else.
The only useful thing that came out of them describing this is that they omitted roughly what percentage of a boost this gives to all their figures. They said this increases what they, for each show, give or take, it bumps everything up by about 35% from what they would have counted before. So basically what I'm saying is, for every figure they ever give us now, subtract 35% and there's a more realistic figure.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We can still compare Netflix things to other Netflix things because of this, but it's meaningless against the wider world. But I kind of felt that here is okay. We want people to stick around for 2 minutes. If you give them 90 seconds of that at the start, they'll probably stick around another 30 seconds.
Well, this is the thing. If we weren't reviewing this, I would have noped out probably around the first flashback. I think that is the moment where I'd have said, no, this is definitely just trash, I'm done. Yeah. But of course,
Netflix would have counted that.
Netflix would have counted that, but I mean, I don't really care. I mean, it has to matter to Netflix that someone opts out 5 minutes into the first episode of something that's 10 episodes or 8 episodes. I didn't even check how many episodes this was, to be honest.
I didn't either.
But like it has to matter to them if there's X percentage not even finishing the first episode. Never mind not coming back for episodes 2 or 3.
Honestly,
or
this
4.
reminds me of the Facebook video thing where they used their it was people didn't click away from this counts as a view on, or it did for a while on Facebook's metrics, and there was a whole industry based around that, and obviously that collapsed because people not clicking away from it does not equate to someone actually being interested in something.
Yeah, it does not count. Someone's not paying attention to it. It's not.
Yeah. It reminds me of that a lot, where it's only themselves that they're screwing over with these metrics because they're not really reporting them to us, really, anyway.
Nah, very rarely. It doesn't really mean a whole lot. It just means the numbers they give us just feel worthless, and and that doesn't necessarily mean that what they've got is not doing well, because it very much probably is, especially if the subscribers keep going up because people are subscribing for something.
Which is what they still are.
Yeah, but yeah. So, and I think there's definitely like tiers of Netflix show at this point, and this kind of feels like, I feel like when people who don't like Netflix shows talk about Netflix shows being crap, this is exactly what they're thinking of. They're thinking of this show. Yeah. They're thinking of this cheap show
that's just there so Netflix can say, look, we've got another original here.
Yeah, because this feels like it's cheaper than a CW show. You compare it to a CW show, this feels cheaper than that to me.
It does, yeah.
They've got maybe like a nicer location. They seem to have like a real big house to shoot in, so it has a better production value from a location point of view.
It's a warehouse.
It's not a warehouse, yes, is basically what I'm saying. But in every other regard, it feels cheaper, and that is a shame. So yeah, it does. It feels like just a piece of content that's churned out to ramp up the number of originals they've got in the year. We had 25 new originals start in January 2020. Well, yeah, but one of them was this. So like,
yeah, exactly.
And
do you want to know how little promotion they gave this? While I was watching this, I was like, this is terrible, right? This isn't just me. So I thought I'm going to Google just to see a couple of reviews to see if there are, if I'm on the right. I don't usually do this, but I thought I'm intrigued just to check that I'm not going crazy. 2. There are only 2 reviews I could find.
Well, now there's 3.
Yeah, but the fact that I Googled, usually new Netflix show, day it comes out, search the name, review, I'll get a list from pretty, mostly well-known publications. I got 2 from publications I've never seen before.
Yeah, well, it's that kind of show. Yeah, no one cares apparently, which makes me wonder why are we doing this? What have we done?
So what's more annoying is we thought originally this came out tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We had it on our schedule for tomorrow, and we went, oh, it's here. I literally went to put on something with Netflix when I watched my dinner, and it was like in the trending section. I thought, I guess that's out already.
Yeah, we just swapped this today and tomorrow's schedule around. It wasn't really that big a deal, but like
yeah. But I'm like, oh man, if we'd have waited a day and everyone went, nah, it's not even worth bothering. Maybe we'd have just not bothered, and I could have saved myself 50 minutes of my life.
Oh dear. Yeah, it's uninspired. The monster stuff's not that exciting. The actual discussion of like their job, the monster hunting, is vague at best at this point, and not in like a mysterious way. It's just they don't really go into it that much, and it doesn't really feel all that exciting. Like
and then you've got the stuff with the kids at the end, which I was just like, oh boy.
It really wants to feel like it wants to seem like it's cool. Like these characters are cool, and I don't really get that. And then the kids, like the daughter's kind of antisocial, and she ends up talking to these other teenagers, and her brother kind of like ropes her into like pretending to do a seance. But I mean, I'll just full spoilers here for the first
not
episode.
That you should care.
Not that you should care, but full spoilers from this point on. But she ends up actually kind of connecting to a spirit or something like that at the end when she does this fake seance.
Yeah, and the brother's seeing dead people.
The brother's seeing dead people, so they both have some sort of inherent abilities that they've maybe got from their... Well, that's the thing.
They don't have the parents don't seem to have any abilities. They've got guns and and I laughed so hard the bit when they're in the store and they're like, oh, can you smell that? They're like, oh yeah, there's something going on. And they went, oh, we haven't got any scanners or proper weapons. He's like, we're gonna have to do this old school. Whips out his iPhone and uses this like magic scanner app. I'm like, well, this is old school. You know, these people have been doing it for, I don't know, 25, 30 years by the sounds of it. Using an iPhone is not old school by your standards.
Maybe just because it was like a thermal like app, right? I wonder if just using thermals is what's old school about it. Like,
maybe I thought they were going to have to use just whatever's in the store, whatever they've got. Like proper old school. If you say, oh, we're doing this old school, I'm not expecting you to whip out an iPhone.
Because here's the thing, there's actually nothing in this. I guess maybe the kids stuff like maybe ties into the overall plot. But the parents finding this random couple of demons that are killing this one guy at the store, like it doesn't. I mean, maybe it will tie into the main plot, but it doesn't really feel like it teases anything or sets anything up. This is just another example of what they do. Which...
I think it's supposed to give them some sort of motivation to stop doing what they're doing. I think because they're not entirely on their game while they're doing it. I mean, to be fair, they're both very high, and he's absolutely wasted. So, wouldn't expect top quality performance, would you?
Yeah, no, but it kind of felt like you already had this really rushed scene at the start, but just trying to establish what they do, and this entire sequence to me felt like, and this is again why I felt that opening 90-second scene was useless and redundant and took away from the rest of it, is that I felt like their entire thing, like if you hadn't shown us that opening scene, at least in theory, now admittedly this wouldn't fix the direction and writing quality or anything like that, but in theory, this like them just casually running into a couple of like people who are actually demons in the store and like starting to like prep for it and then fighting back and then showing kind of how mundane this is to them in this way would be more of a surprise and more of an intriguing thing potentially, because you didn't just show them fight some CGI thing at the start.
Do you know what? I think that bothers me even more, because this bit here is supposed to show they're off the game. They're getting too old for this. They're just, he needs to get his swing back, as they say. Yeah, at the start it went perfectly fine, and that was very recent because that they mentioned that was in Japan, and they'd only been in Japan for like 3 weeks. So
yeah, I'm going to guess that the kids having powers is going to have something to do with them being twins, because they mentioned they're twins in this episode.
Of course they are, yeah.
So I imagine there's something to do with that. And because the one thing that comes up that's clearly going to be a factor is that the wife's like, hey, maybe we should tell them, because this world might actually like end up knocking on the door one day, and they should probably be prepared in case they have to defend themselves. And I have to imagine that this that them having these abilities is them being kind of ushered into this world, even without the parents realizing it already. And that's kind of where the plot, I presume, will go. Not that I care, because I have no interest in ever watching another minute of this.
I'm making sure I delete this from my Netflix watch history so it doesn't ever suggest anything like this to me again.
Yeah, rough time. It doesn't. It's dull. It does that sin of, and again, this is more so than the CW. I'm going to use the CW to describe this, but the CW does this thing where, okay, it'll have a few big effects things in the episode, but for a lot of those episodes, it'll be people in rooms talking, which It's fine to a point, but you kind of feel it after a while that it's really just that, and you can feel that they've only got enough money for like 3 big moments, so they'll have the 3 big moments, and you can sort of feel and this is the thing: if something's well written, you won't feel that. You'll be too engrossed in the story to care or notice or give a shit. But you do feel it on those shows usually. This was that turned up to another number, because that's all I felt was them saving money.
Yeah.
And then once something did happen, the only real thing we see is a quick effect shot of like so these big like teeth coming out of the person's face. You know, it was just these big fangs, and that was pretty much it. And I'm not saying like blow your load and do some big thing, but there was no atmosphere to any of it. There was no tension. There was no.
There's a way to hide the fact that you haven't got much budget in style.
Yeah, absolutely. Just put some effort in. Really, I don't know. Like I say, it felt like an afternoon kids TV show, except there just happened to be swearing and other things going on.
A little bit of the odd violence.
Yes. And I don't know. And there was it was a really obvious things happen as well. Like the sister kept complaining how much of a horn dog her brother was because he kept flirting with a girl or talking about girls, and I'm like, well, he's obviously gay then, right? And then by the end of the first episode, yes, we see him be gay. So
yeah,
which it's
we see him be gay. That's
we see
the
him be
sentence
gay.
go with.
Yes, okay,
and that's when he sees the dead people.
Yes, he sees dead people when he's about to get a blowjob from some other dude, and like. It just again it was so the hand was just so overplayed, like if you're going to try and like swerve us with something like that, have a better poker face. Like it felt so.
Or just don't make a big deal about it, and then it doesn't need to feel like a swerve.
Yeah,
just have it happen. That's okay.
Yeah, it has the subtlety of a dump truck.
That's the best you gotta go with.
They're not subtle things.
I mean, they're not. No,
they're big and they're loud and ugly. I mean, that's not.
Do they
subtle.
make noises when they reverse?
Of course they do.
Yeah. Okay. I wasn't sure if I was thinking of the
big beeps. Yeah. So some particular models might even actually have a robotic voice that says reversing.
I can't say I've ever heard that outside of a TV show.
No, that's true. I don't think I've heard it outside of a TV show, but I assume it's a real thing. I don't think TV shows have made this up,
unless they have, and it's just one of those TV myths. We'll never know.
I mean, it's possible. I feel like there's probably certain places that have this.
There probably is.
It's not that ridiculous a notion that there's like a voice that plays saying reversing instead of a beep.
No.
But
I feel like the beep does the job a bit better, to be honest. It's kind of louder and cuts through you.
Well, they usually do both, right? It's usually beep, reversing.
Maybe.
It's a bit of both.
Yeah.
It gives you the shock of the beep and then the accurate detail of what's happening.
Is this what this review has devolved into? Can you tell it's not a very interesting first episode?
No, there was nothing. The only other things that really happened is the mum shows up because no one likes the dad that died. Everyone kind of hated his guts, so no one's really that upset. The mum shows up, wants the house for herself, and the wife meets like an old high school friend who's now the sheriff of the town, and that'll be a thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredibly predictable because they're told they were in Japan. They're told, okay, you're going to Oslo next. They're obviously going to go. No, we're just going to stay here, and they're going to keep the house. And oh look, the kids are going to go to school, probably at the same school they went to, with the sheriff's daughter and all those other teenagers.
Yeah, has to be. What it'll probably be is because they encountered those demons. Hey, there's demonic activity going on here. There's probably a reason to stay, and they'll convince their superiors that they should stay here.
Sure. Yeah.
That'll be like probably what happens, and they'll keep saying that it's only short term, but they're going to just always be here now for the show because that's what the show is now. It's set here.
Yeah. It's so predictable, isn't it?
Yeah. So, no, there you go. That's October Faction. It is. I can't recommend it in any way, shape, or form. It's just it's everything that is tedious about a television show.
Yeah, it's not even like bad enough to be funny.
No. I mean that would be something to recommend, but it isn't. So, there you go. That's October Faction. Not really a whole lot to go into, to be honest. So, if you watched it, let us know what you thought of the first episode. If you watched more than the first episode for some reason,
let us know why.
Yeah, let us know why. Let us know, how the rest of it is. It's always curious to find out in the comments. But you can like and subscribe. You can ding the bell on YouTube for the notifications. You can support us by rating the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. You can support us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. Give us $1 or more per month, and you get bonuses and exclusives and all that kind of thing. So go and do that. Look out for the stuff that is starting. I can tell you, far more interesting in this is that the first Picard review will be up in about a day or so's time. So that's far more interesting than the October Faction.
I'm willing to bet it is.
I'll be shut if Picard is somehow worse than this, then oh boy, there's some rough times ahead. And we'll keep trying to do some of these random Netflix pilots, even though a lot of them just turn out like this, where it's just kind of like
every so often though, there's a gem.
Yeah, every so often there's a gem. Every so often we'll find a kingdom or a 3% or something. But then there's this. But hey ho. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?